Hey, what's up, YouTube world? It is your girl here, the Venusian Bull, and I am back with another video, another transit forecast video to discuss for you the upcoming week of January 12th through January 18th. It is going to be a very, very eventful week. This is the week of the big Saturn-Pluto conjunction. I hope you guys are good and feeling revitalized and regenerated after the lunar eclipse in Cancer that happened on the 10th. But the drama that's going to continue to ensue in the month of January is only just getting started. Side note, for the babies that are born during this time period, like these last 4 days from like maybe the 9th to the 15th of January, these people are going to have extremely eventful roller coaster ride of lives. Like, these people are not going to experience boring lives. I just have to say that because um whenever you're born under these very powerful astrological influences, it always continues to affect you. So let's just say like you just had a baby or something like that this month. Definitely, pay attention to this energy because it may be something that's recurring for your children. Also, the last time there was a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and I actually have the date here, was back in 1982. Um, so so that's to kind of give you perspective of when the last time this happened. It's been quite some time, and I believe that this was happening in the sign of Libra, because this was when a lot of Libra energy was popping off and everything like that. Now this energy is happening in Capricorn. Okay, if I'm wrong about it being in Libra, I'll correct it in the notes, but I'm pretty certain it was Libra and not Scorpio yet. I'm pretty certain, but I will correct it in the notes at the end, okay, if I'm wrong. So we're going to get right into this forecast. So gearing up for this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, we're going to have Mercury and the Sun also coming in contact with both Saturn and Pluto. So it's going to be a real Saturnian, Plutonian kind of world up in here for like the next week. Like, we're really, really going to be feeling it. And we already have been feeling it because of all of this Capricorn energy. Okay. So let's just talk about Saturn and Pluto a little bit. Saturn is in its home sign right now. It rules Capricorn, so it's at home in Capricorn. And Saturn deals with discipline and hard work and structure and karma and the slow and steady build. Saturn is the prototype for Rome wasn't built in a day. This is the energy that works and that works hard. And if you're not working hard, you will not be rewarded. You will get consequences. If you are working hard, then you will reap those benefits. Saturn is about ambition. It's about, recognition, particularly on a, like career business type of framework and things of that nature. It's also very paternal in nature. That's why the lunar eclipse in Cancer, because it's opposite all of this Capricorn energy, is really, really significant, because you literally have the mother and the father like going at it in the cosmic weather, for lack of a better word. So that's kind of the energy of Saturn. It's a very heavy energy. It can be very draining, but when you like get out on the other side, if you've been working, it can be so fulfilling. Saturn is a teacher. But it's a no nonsense teacher. It's that teacher like, this teacher always makes me work so hard. Why do you make me do all of this? Like, Saturn kind of reminds me of, remember Coach Carter? That's Saturn. That's Saturn. He was so hard on them boys, but he made them better than what they could ever be. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why Capricorn's the GOAT, because it's ruled by Saturn. Capricorn doesn't get that name just because. Capricorn is the GOAT because they work. So moving on to Pluto. Also, Pluto is another kind of really heavy, kind of draining energy. You're definitely going to feel this energy, but it operates a little bit differently. Pluto is more transformative, and it's kind of about ridding away of things that you don't need, you know, so it's a lot of like purging and things like that that's going on when Pluto is in effect. Pluto is a very influential kind of energy. It can also be a very controlling and manipulative energy. It's very powerful. That's like the biggest thing. And when you have Pluto and Saturn together, this is like the ultimate like power couple. I always say that like a Scorpio and a Capricorn would be like the ultimate power couple. Low key, especially if they're operating in the lowest manifestation, because they could be the people that are really, you know, going for theirs and not giving a shit about anybody else. Frank and Claire Underwood from House of Cards come to mind when I think about Pluto, Saturn, Capricorn, Scorpio energy, just to give you kind of an idea of what that energy can be like on the low level of, and the low vibration. So another thing that Pluto represents, because it rules Scorpio, it does represent, you know, sex. You know, it represents things that are taboo and dark, the underworld. It represents, you know, investigation and you know, research and really getting down to the nitty gritty of things and not just being on doing stuff surface level. So so Saturn and Pluto working together is really, really good, because Saturn likes to work and build, and and Pluto likes to, you know, research and investigate, you know what I'm saying? So they're both similar in that way. They just kind of approach it differently, both very strategic. So if you have plans that are in the works, that is something that you've been working on during this time, if you've been doing that to your best ability, that Pluto-Saturn conjunction is really going to help you along with that. So to incorporate where Mercury and the Sun come into play, because Mercury and the Sun are also going to be conjunct Saturn and Pluto, and this is happening, I believe this is all happening on the 12th. Let me just double check. I think this is all happening. Okay, so the Sun doesn't conjunct Pluto until the 13th. Okay. All right. So between the 12th and 13th, it's going to be a very busy 2 days. Okay. You may have a very restless Sunday. So with Mercury and the Sun coming into effect, so Mercury is the sign of communication. So when you have Mercury in contact with Saturn, this makes for a more strategic communicator, but it also puts restrictions on your ability to communicate and your ability to get your thoughts out and things like that. There may be people around you that are trying to prevent you from getting that out, because Saturn has to deal with restrictions, but it also could be for a good reason. Like it might be like a, don't say that shit, because, you know, you're going to end up facing the consequences to that, you know, a few months from now. So Saturn is like that, you know, you have the devil and the angel. Low-key, Saturn does represent the devil, but let's just say that Saturn in this instance would be the voice of reason, okay? So Saturn represents the voice of reason for that Mercury that's wants to be all yep, 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 and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to say whatever I want. Stop, hold up, reflect, think, okay, and start all over again, because that shit's not going to fly, okay? There's going to be some karma that's going to come to you if you know, maybe say this or communicate this or whatever the case may be. Now, with the Sun also being conjunct Saturn, it's going to make it a little bit harder, because the Sun and Mercury are conjunct. So the Sun being in that, the Sun represents vitality and your ego and pride. So the Sun is bold and proud, and it's proud of their opinions, and it's proud of what they know and wants to share that, and they don't give a lip about what Saturn thinks. So the Sun aspect of this is going to try to come in and be like, no, I'm going to say what it is that's on my mind. I'm going to express myself through writing, through YouTube, through whatever form of communication I can get my hands on. So, you know, be careful of that kind of arrogant, prideful Sun getting in the way of possibly that voice of reason of Saturn. But it could also, don't get it twisted, Saturn could be restricting you from saying things that need to be said. So you need to weigh that out and make sure that what you're communicating is valid and that it makes sense, because Saturn could just be hating. It could just be hating. You know what I'm saying? So know the difference between Saturn hating and Saturn being like, you know damn well you shouldn't be saying this. You understand what I'm saying? You know, because the planets, they talk to each other, okay? All right, so then we have Mercury and the sun coming in contact with Pluto. So Mercury conjuncts Pluto on the 12th and the sun conjuncts Pluto on the 13th. Okay, so Pluto is this all-powerful energy, as I was already mentioning, but Pluto is also the collaborator. And with Pluto being Capricorn, Capricorn is a very self-sufficient sign and energy, but with Pluto being there, it's going to promote you to want to, you know, collaborate and not try to do everything on your own and things like that. With the sun conjunct Pluto, I would be mindful of, you know, whether you're a male or female, I would be mindful of masculine energy because the sun does represent men. I would be mindful of masculine energy trying to manipulate you and control you into thinking a certain way or communicating a certain way, adding Mercury into the mix with that. So be careful of that male energy, but that sun conjunct Pluto is also a very, very powerful aspect in the mix of all of this. And I would say just understanding your power and understanding your power from within, and understand that that Pluto conjuncting your sun, it could make you want to bring to light more kind of dark underworld type of things. And I kind of mean that literally and figuratively. So it could mean, you know, you're researching something and you find what's been covered underneath, or this could happen on a global scale. Remember, I've mentioned several times in my other videos, Capricorn represents the government, Pluto represents power, Saturn rules Capricorn, represents the government, you know, corporations, politics, and all of that. And we know what's all going down in our government. We have, well, we just barely avoided a possible war, I think, you know, but we have an incompetent president in office, so who knows. The impeachment hearings with the Senate is supposed to start. We have the Democratic primaries going on, so it's a lot of possible shifts when it comes to power, and that sun conjunct Pluto is a very, it's like almost an exact replication of that. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's an exact example of that. Now with Mercury conjuncting Pluto, and this is all happening at the 22nd degree. So when the sun conjuncts Saturn, it happens at the 22nd degree. When Mercury conjuncts Pluto and Saturn, is happening at the 22nd degree. When Saturn conjuncts Pluto, it happens at the 22nd degree. So I want to make that clear. So with Mercury conjunct Pluto, mind reading may really come to fruition. That may be something that you just like feel comes over you, or people are able to read your mind. So, you know, be careful, because people just may be able to, they have that like real perceptive nature and things like that. So make sure that people aren't able to control your mind and control your thoughts and, you know, what you say, and use that power of Pluto to your advantage and bring forth things that are always kept underneath. You know, I love the energy of Pluto. You know, I'm Scorpionic in nature. I'm a Scorpio rising, so I'm Plutonian to an extent. So I love bringing stuff kind of like, you know, from the underworld, going down in the rabbit hole and digging up what has been covered up, what people try to cover up. Especially, you know, when it comes to the government, there's going to be a lot of things and a lot of things communicated, you know, with Mercury there, that is going to uncover a lot of truths and a lot of wrongdoings in this government, in this administration. And, I know a lot of people think it's going to be real business as usual and things like that with this election. I don't think so, because if the election doesn't go as planned in terms of there being real monumental change, then there's going to be an uprising, because towards the end of the year, Saturn is going to go into Aquarius, okay? And we will get into that later in the year, but I'm just saying the uprising and the rebellion is going to come whether people like it or not, okay? Uranus is in Taurus. Remember that, okay? Okay, so yeah, so just keep all of this in mind. I spent a lot of time on this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, but it's necessary and it takes up a lot of the aspects. So, it was something that needed to be discussed. So moving right along, getting into kind of happier times, okay? So Venus is going to go into Pisces on January 13th. So this will be a nice transition, something nice to look forward to with all of this Capricorn energy in the air. Venus represents love and pleasure and beauty and value and worth and the arts and reciprocity and relationships. And Pisces, Venus is actually exalted in Pisces. So it's a very, very great placement for Pisces. It makes it extra romantic, extra compassionate. Everything is extra beautiful. Your artistic and keen senses are like all the way on 100. So, you may possibly around this time really want to listen to your favorite music and, do a lot of like artistic type of things. Maybe you used to dance and you want to dance. You just want to have kind of a release from all of the heavy Capricorn energy. You may also want to meditate, do yoga, things that have you at, oneness and things of that nature. You may want to smoke a blunt or something along those lines as well. Pisces is the energy of, addiction. So, there's that. Although I don't really think people can be like addicted to weed or whatever, but that's another conversation for another day. Pisceans like to smoke their weed. Let's just keep it at that, okay? All right, so Venus going into Pisces is going to be a very beautiful, very romantic kind of time. So this will be a good time if you meeting somebody new, or if you got somebody, you got a new boo for the new year, new boo. Venus in Pisces is here to support that kind of notion. So I'm here for Venus and Pisces, even though I ain't got nobody, but I'm just saying it'll be a nice, beautiful time. Maybe I'll write a nice little love song or something. All right, so moving right along. I'm going to talk very, very briefly about this aspect because I don't talk about the quincunxes or inconjuncts that much, but this is happening on January 15th. Mars is going to quincunx the North Node in Cancer, and as I mentioned before, at the 8th degree. And Mars is in Sagittarius, and the North Node is in Cancer. So the North Node, as a reminder, does have to deal with purpose and what you kind of need to be leaning more towards in this lifetime. And North Node in Cancer right now is the North Node overall for everybody. And Mars has to deal with assertion and aggression and drive. So there may be a little bit of conflicts between your drive and your motivation as it pertains to your purpose and what you're kind of destined to towards in this lifetime. So be mindful of that and make sure you're kind of still keeping your eye on the prize and keeping your eye on, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And once again, that North Node is in Cancer. So it's probably leaning around family or your mother or, kind of internal emotions or things along those lines. That may be what's ailing you or hindering you from getting to your goals, especially with Mars being in Sagittarius and Mars wanting freedom and things of that nature. So I'm sorry, Sagittarius wanting freedom, and that's even more pronounced with Mars being in Sagittarius. So keep that in mind. All right. So next we have also on January 15th, it looks like it's Venus sextile Uranus. This is a very interesting aspect, but very nice for creating. It's very good for creating and innovating, creative, new, innovative kind of art. You know what I'm saying? And it's about making something beautiful interesting. You know, I always think about like America's Next Top Model, and I think about like, you know, when Tyra always used to say, you know, the unconventional beauty, the ugly pretty. That's Venus and Uranus coming into contact with each other. Okay, so you may want to try some different styles with your look that's a little bit off, that's a little bit different, but like that still look cute. You know what I'm saying? So this is definitely about experimentation with beauty. I would say Venus sextile Uranus, experimentation with beauty as well as like music, because Venus rules music as well as Pisces. Venus rules the arts, but Pisces rules the arts and music. So definitely going to be seeing some different kind of quirkiness that's going on with people's style and people's like makeup, as well as what type of like art they're creating. All right, so on January 16th, Mercury goes into Aquarius. So this is very interesting because Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. So we have two planets that are going into signs where they're in exaltation. So this is really good. That means that Mercury is going to be operating on a very, very high octane in Aquarius. So we're talking technology driven, forward thinking, unconventional. We're talking extremely intelligent, extremely cerebral, very, you know, thought-provoking, but fixed in their opinions. Don't try to change an Aquarian's mind because they're very fixed in opinions. But this is like, Aquarians are like the prototype for the conspiracy theorists as well. But they are always asking questions, very inquisitive, wants to know why, but they also always know everything. Like they know everything, but they're still going to be asking the questions. So this is the time of the month where Mercury is going to be in Aquarius for like a few weeks, but this is the time where you may feel a little bit smarter than usual. You just may be like, I want like legit figured out that math problem. Like, oh, what is going on? That's Mercury in Aquarius. It may make you a little bit smarter than what you actually are. No, I'm kidding. We all have our intelligence in certain ways, but definitely when it comes to communication, we're going to be like, if whatever we're typing something or posting anything, we're going to be checking our grammar. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be checking, making sure that there's no mistakes, because you're not going to be telling nobody that an Aquarius is stupid or something like that, because they're very intelligent beings. Okay. And, you know, we may be thinking, not maybe, Mercury in Aquarius is always thinking outside of the box. Okay, so this is abstract thinking. This is abstract thought. This is not the norm. This is not a linear, straight, direct line. This is all of the other aspects to things other than what is obvious in front of you. So definitely keep that in mind. Social media at a high. I mean, everybody's already on social media too, but you're going to see a lot of this happening on social media versus kind of in your everyday life, because Aquarius rules social media and the internet, and Mercury rules the media in general. So you're going to see a lot of this more online than dealing with communicating with people in your everyday lives. Okay, so next we have on the 17th of January, Mercury sextile Chiron, okay? Excuse me. And just to remember, Chiron is the wounded healer. It deals with physical wounds as well as emotional wounds, internal and external wounds. So with Mercury being sextile Chiron, this is a positive aspect, but remember that Chiron is not the nicest point in the, or nicest asteroid in the chart. So even if it is a positive aspect, it can still kind of act like an asshole. Okay, so with Mercury being sextile Chiron, obviously this is affecting the mind. This is affecting your communication. And I would say it's more or less causing you to look more within yourself, because Chiron is all about going within and deep wounds and deep healing that needs to be done. And maybe this is something that you really need to communicate to others. Maybe this is the time that you really need to go to a therapist and really express your feelings. Now, it's going to be kind of difficult because Mercury is in Aquarius, and Aquarius doesn't do feelings, like they don't know feelings. So it's going to be kind of difficult, but and this is the difficult part about Chiron. Chiron is going to make that difficult because we have um, Mercury in Aquarius, but it may be necessary for you to kind of move on to the next level. All right, so definitely think about that. You're not going to want to open up emotionally. You're not going to want to be vulnerable, but that Chiron is going to make you vulnerable and make you feel the need to communicate verbally or in writing your feelings and your emotions and possibly how somebody hurt you or how they affected you or caused you trauma in some type of way. So this is deep. This is a little deep. You know what I'm saying? It's a little deep time. So let's see. All right, so this looks like the last transit of the week on January 18th. We have Mercury squaring Uranus. Fun. So this is a very interesting aspect because Mercury is square Uranus. Uranus actually rules Aquarius, and Mercury is currently in Aquarius. So I would say the square may not be as harsh, but it's still a fixed square because Uranus is in Taurus, and this is happening at the second degree. I forgot to mention the degrees for the other ones, but you know, y'all can see on here. So this is going to be and you know, usually Mercury and Uranus are very similar in the way that they act because they're both very communicative and very cerebral and very intellectual and logical. Uranus just takes that to the next level. So with them being square, just be mindful of their kind of being like rebellion against your thoughts, or a group of people's thoughts, because remember, Uranus does represent groups and organizations and things like that. So there may be a rebellion against certain thoughts and opinions and things like that, certain things that need to be spoken of. But I think that this is, it's rare that you will hear somebody say that this is a positive square, but I'm not so mad at this particular square because it's Mercury and Uranus squaring together, and they kind of operate a little bit on the same, you know, playing field a little bit. So, but what you have to remember is that Mercury is always trying to communicate something. Mercury is the messenger. It's always trying to get you to know something. Uranus is always trying to get you to know stuff too, usually stuff that's going to happen well into the future and things like that. So just be mindful that there may be some conflicts, or you may feel the need to rebel against what is being communicated and what's being put out there. And that could be something, well, more than likely it is going to be something that's on social media or on the internet, because again, these signs represent the media and the internet and social media. And it doesn't have to be something like on the grand scale of like the government and stuff like that. It could just be something that you see on Facebook or something like that, or like a Facebook group that you're a part of or something along those lines. You know, it could be on a smaller scale, but definitely just keep that in mind. All right. Okay. Did I miss something? Oh no, I didn't miss nothing. Okay, so I think that that's it. Yeah, that doesn't happen until next week. Okay, so this is actually the last full week of the sun being in Capricorn. I'm a little bit, you know, happy about that because, you know, we need some new energy, but rest assured, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are still in Capricorn and will be for the majority of this year. Pluto is still going to be in Capricorn for the next like couple years, a few more years. So that Capricorn energy ain't going away no time soon. So you're still going to feel it. Oh, I forgot to do the moons. Let me do them real quick because I know this video is long as hell. So we started out the week with the moon in Leo, fun, vibrant energy, happy, spending time with your kids, you know, just a little bossy, you know, and stuff like that. So the moon goes into Virgo on the 13th. So this is going to be a more like mild mannered energy. You might feel the need to want to clean up because Virgos are very much the neat freaks and they're very much perfectionists. So you want to get that regiment going as far as like your routine. You like it is you got to, it's back to work, so you know you got to get stuff ready, you got to get your routine back together and everything like that. Might be starting a new diet. So the moon is going to be in Virgo until the 15th, and then the moon goes into a Libra. So this is, you know, the sign of partnerships and relationships and artistic expression and beauty, but it's also the sign of law and justice. People forget that about Libra. People be thinking Libra is like real superficial, but this is the sign of fairness and what is just. So just keep in mind that you may be in your moods where, you know, you're playing devil's advocate a lot. You need to hear both sides. You're trying to do a lot of balancing acts. You know what I'm saying? You're feeling the need to be in a relationship. You want to experience harmony, or you just want to feel cute or something. You know, it could be something trivial, or, you know, you could want to do things that have to do with the arts, you know, music, visual art, things of that nature, paint. So Libra, moon is going to be in Libra until the 17th. And then at the tail end of the week, the moon is going to be going into Scorpio. So this is deep, dark thinking. This is more being more perceptive, utilizing kind of that like psychic ability and things like that. This is the time where you may be realizing things about others that you didn't realize before, because, you know, that scorpionic energy always makes you scorpionic energy is always like you're guilty until you're proven innocent, basically. So that may be how you're thinking. That's kind of how your emotions are riled up and stuff like that. You may feel extra passionate and intense at this point. So it might be good for, you know, a little sexual encounter going on or something like that. You know, you never know. You may want to get it in or something like that. Or just, you know, intimacy. Intimacy is very important when the moon is in Scorpio. All right, so I'm glad I was able to get through that. I'm pretty sure this video is like 45 minutes or an hour long, child, I don't know. But hopefully y'all was entertained. I was kind of kikiing and stuff throughout this video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and like this, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.